I hold these teams. And easy level.
Last year.
TV's on these? No. Yeah. And I had $20. We
Exchange for it, you owe me $10 for the EV, I would have given you $10 back. You would have just
We like having nothing, so.
you like the big block of these. You do that again. I know, so I can't knock your dog down, but maybe you're doing it. Just a new thing.
I'm trying to get God.
Yeah.
How are you?
How are you? Your house is fine?
Yes, and y'all too.
Yeah.
That way I can walk on sunshine if that was it. Because what do you look at doing like, what do you like doing after doing the title player? Our time was, we win.
I'm Ben.
I'm Mindy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us.
Sure. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. Much love. I'm Ben. Hey, Sarah.
Were you traveling today?
Yeah, we came to New York.
No trouble?
A little turbulence, you know. What in life doesn't
But
work?
nothing can rearrange.
Not for us. Can't speak for it.
So yellow shoes, like.
How was it here last night?
Here and near me, it was fun, but a lot of people are still out. I've got several friends that have power. Fortunately, nobody I know really got flooding. But I think that's a big issue.
We're going to get started, and we are on page 289 in our Sidor Lev Shalem, and we'll start our mid-class service. 289. Ashrei Yoshe B'Techa Yolucha Sela She'en Kachala She'en Tenai Mahal Tel Shabir Shuvai Melech Orchati Shalom Hallelujah. We'll do some rise, Kaddish 290. You love you, Ashmer. You got your tape. You know, the tape, I have given the tape, all these stuff. I have these monkeys, Rummy. We are the Farah, they all my coffee party, from that city, the reason well, to the shepherd. They like where those are touched, but the next one, I'm your own, Allah, Hebrew. Amen. Give me a shot together, page 291. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov El HaGadol HaGibor B'Hanora El Elyon Gilgal Chatatim Tovim U'Bnei Hakol V'Zocher Chatei Achot U'Meifigo Alidim Nehem L'Moshel V'Yava Melech Oser Moshio Hakim Baruch atah Adonai Magim Avraham Atah Gibor L'Adonai Mechayim Nisim Atarav L'Oshia Mechashal Mechased Mechayim Nisim Rachamim Rabim So Mechadol Baruch Mechalim Motir Atziri U'Mechayim U'Menachol Yishnei Afar Mechamo Habal Gurot U'Midam Allah Melech U'Midam Hayim U'Smen Yeshua Ne'eman Talaha Chayot Beitim Baruch Adonai Mechayim Beitim You're still in the middle of your first long meetup, take as long as you need, otherwise continue page 300. You could, oh gosh, Merhaba. Ama di ram kirte mo se ta ta mi ko ta bi sa la di ma free ram me. Di lucky part. Di come on say di da di da di long to the other so they love to go to ta su pa ta 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 am ra da ama di bro. Amen. Di ka ba to ta ma to ko sa so ta so di ma di bro. Amen. Di so am ra mi sa ma ya ta ko no ka bro. Amen. Possession rock, possession of the language shall be true. Amen. 301. Hallelujah. Shall be not all take you by the secretary. Jealous and we are so good. Someone is to go to Jealous and looking to God. They go rolling in the Kohana. And after Korin, we shall be morning. Ata Dishirata, Tushmata, Venakamata, Miranda, Mab, Ibru, Amen. Yehe, Shalom, Rabba, Gishmaya, Vekayim, Aleinu, Ve'alko Yisrael, Ibru, Amen. Says Shalom, Ibrahim, Huya, says Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'alko Yisrael, Ibru, Amen. Well, welcome Shabbat with some candle lighting. Page 4, 3.5, 4. I think it's 7's right off.
Continue with Kabbalah Shabbat on page 11. Please rise as you're able, page 21. Beginning this Shabbat, and for the week to come, we are remembering the following yard sites in our community. And for the day that is ending at sunset also, the yard sites of Beryl Hermenko, Rita Korn, Florence Lavin, Bella Rubin Tillim, Jeanette Wild, Lorraine Kovitz, Eitan Force, Meyer Levinson, Joseph Rosenshine, Leona Rosenthal, Annette Belkin, Jesse Cohen, Max Frank, Izzy Ginsberg, Oscar Glazer, Paula Kopowski, Sandra Stein, Lynn Zeitlin, Charlene Jacoby, Edgar Lowenthal, Lloyd Pesso, Louis Strongin, and Janet Lapa, Arthur Adler, Shirley Burnbray, Rhoda Liftinger, Howard Seidan, Rose Wander, Sarah Block, Lenore Crawford, Stephen Idex, Sigmund Friedman, Bea Galembo, Selma May, Jeremy Rosenberg, Louis Silverstein, Morris Schlesinger, Bernard Cohn, Minnie Gross, Lillian Shu, Arlene Shams, Millie Solomowitz, and Gloria Hope. Keeping all of them in mind, remembering all those we've lost, we rise to say Mortar Scottish together, please. Yikagal, Yikadash, Shmirava, Yama, Tifra, Ute, Yamli, Pamute, Vahayako, Yomefo, Shaye, Dupoli, Israel, Ravala, Isman, Hari, Hebrew, Amen. Engage, Nera, Bara, Vela, Yipara, Vishtava, Vishar, Vishavam, Vishnase, Vishadar, Vishale, Vishalal, Shri, Naela, Mishal, Virkata, Shirashana, Vishpakata, Nefata, Damiran, Vela, Amen. Engage, Shamarava, Vishaya, Kayin, America, Holy Israel, Hebrew, Amen. Say Shalom, Yerumah, Uya, say Shalom, Holy Israel. I'm very excited to be able to present a friend of mine, probably the one you don't recognize. My friend Ben, his partner Megan. Ben is a friend of mine from the Jewish Theological Seminary, but actually we became close friends because I was a rabbi of a small synagogue in upstate New York, and Ben was always our Torah leader and actually taught me how to read Torah. So I rely heavily on his skills and wisdom, and he'll be our scholar in residence for the weekend. Teaching tonight about some of his experience in interfaith dialogue. Tomorrow morning, giving our sermon, and then tomorrow night for Sleep Folks, he will be giving our shiur on repentance as gleaned from Nineveh. Summary correct. Okay, so he'll be doing our sermon tonight. We're so glad to have him.
Where do I see it?
Did you stand on the other side? Yeah.
I see it, then on the Christmas place.
You can walk around.
I can walk around
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah, you don't have to sit.
I do. I then came up.
Sorry.
I'll tell you a little more about myself, actually. I have two jobs. The first is that I actually teach Midrash at the Jewish Theological Seminary. And because I'm used to teaching in a classroom, I'm used to pacing. So if I pace too much, he'll tell me stand in one place. If I talk too fast, he'll tell me slow down. Right? I have faith in that. And if I talk too softly, I'm sure someone will say speak up, right? Okay. You'll stay with this guy. The second job that I have, which is what I'm going to talk about tonight, I'm going to talk about the other job, the Midrash job, twice tomorrow. The job I'm going to talk about tonight is that I am the associate director of the seminary's Interreligious Dialogue Center. And that means a couple things. But the biggest thing it means is that I spend a lot of time with people who aren't Jewish, trying to get to know them better, and trying to get them to know me better. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I do that, really how like the last year has made that job much, much, much harder. Okay. Any questions so far? And I just want to say that I am going to speak briefly about a thing that's been going on in a lot of depth. So I do welcome the opportunity to continue this conversation over food, right? Like the last thing that I want to do is be the thing between us and Mariv, and then by extension, food. So I know better than that. So I'm going to speak briefly now. And if folks have follow-up questions and want to like engage in further conversation on this, please come find me. I like to think that I'm very approachable. If you forget my name, I do respond to hey you, all that will work. Okay, so good job. Much alone. Before I've done my preliminary remarks, and I've done my preliminary remarks, and I can talk. But before I do that, I'd like to do a few more preliminary remarks. And I just want to say thank you to Elizabeth, Hillel, and to the entire B'nai Torah team, and to Rabbi Heller, who's not here, for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here. And actually at a very vulnerable moment in the calendar, right? I mean, we're here, we're looking back at 5784, thinking about how we might like 5785 to be different. And I think I'm not going to shock anybody here when I say 5784 has been a really cruddy year. Anybody feel differently? I would love that. Anybody feel like 5784, that was a banner year, I feel great about it? Okay, so 5784 was a really incredible year. This time, a year ago, I was planning to do some teaching in 5784, go on a nice vacation, maybe finish my dissertation finally. And about 3 weeks after the start of 5784, that changed. Right? That changed in a fundamental and key way. And the particular way in which I want to talk about that change tonight is through a lens of something that broke totally on October 7th, 2020. And that is Jewish-Muslim dialogue. It broke. It broke. It broke for a bunch of reasons, and I'm going to talk about one of them tonight. To talk about it, I'm reminded of a classic rabbi joke. Okay? There's a shul in the Catskills, and someone already knows the joke. There's a shul in the Catskills, and there's a terrible snowstorm, and the roof caves in at the back of the shul. The road's clear. The rabbi calls a community meeting. The congregation files in, and the rabbi says, "I've got bad news. I've got good news, and I've got more bad news. The bad news is that the roof is caved in. The good news is that we have the money we need to fix it. The more bad news, it's in your pockets." This is an apt description of what has happened in Jewish-Muslim dialogue since October. There was immediate distrust. The roof caved in. One group says your statement is too milquetoast. One group says you haven't condemned the right things. All groups are saying you're demanding that we see your pain and you don't really see ours. In a rush for everyone to say the right thing, do the right thing, most people don't do much at all. And relationships of many years go up in smoke of fear and pain. Because the truth is that Jewish-Muslim dialogue prior to October 7th didn't talk very much about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It didn't. It was too hard. It was much easier to talk about Al-Andalus, about the convivencia. It was much easier to talk about how halacha and sharia are kind of the same thing in some ways. It was much easier to say we're both on the right side when it comes to human rights. It was much harder to talk about a thing that does actually divide us, which is our discourse about hope. And so we left it out of the conversation. On October 7th, it couldn't be left out of the conversation. It was the conversation. And so we couldn't talk. Oh, all right. Check the paper, I'm not going to talk more. So let me pause here, actually it's good, and tell you what I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about people who aren't Jews and aren't Muslims, who seem to have learned about all of this 5 minutes ago and have very strong opinions and are shouting them in the streets. That's not who I was in dialogue with before October 7th. It's not who I've been in dialogue with since October 7th. Because what I'm here to talk about is dialogue. And dialogue is an honest effort to get to know the other. It says, we may not agree, we may have serious difference, but I want to know you better, and I want to let you know me better. And that's not what's happening in that other conversation. And it's not actually what's happening before October 7th. Because before October 7th, there was a huge part of who we were that we were afraid to show. That we were leaving out of the conversation. That we were saying, we can't talk too much about Israel. Because we might break this tenuous thing we're trying to build. And then suddenly, all we could talk about was Israel. On October 7th, I'm going to tell you a little about my own story here. I hope that's okay. It's all I can do, really. Because everybody's experience of Jewish-Muslim dialogue in the last year has been different. I've been blessed in that mine has been actually surprisingly pretty good. So I want to share it with you today because I'm hoping it will give you a little bit of light going into 5785. A little bit of hope that we actually can know each other better. That we can encounter other people who may come into the conversation with very different assumptions. And still leave the conversation with very different assumptions, but with a conviction that we have a shared humanity. So on October 7th, like so many of you, I was in a state of collapse. Like students in the Holy Land, Jerusalem, Haifa, Tel Aviv, friends, family, loved ones, didn't know if they which lists they were on. And I will admit that I'm one of the lucky ones. Every person who was murdered or taken was not on my list. Every person who was murdered or taken was a friend of a friend. Someone else's loved one, who became my loved one through a poster, not through a conversation. I wish I'd had the opportunity to meet my loved ones through a conversation and not a picture. In the week after October 7th, I immediately noticed the increase in anti-Semitism. I wear a kippah everywhere I go. A week after October 7th, I got on a plane and I went to a dialogue conference in the Balkans. And everywhere I went in Croatia, everybody's eyes were here. It was amazing. Some looking with concern, like, oh my gosh, is he okay? Some looking with hate, because that's at least sometimes people look. And I kept feeling like I should say, like, hey guys, my eyes, they're down here, right? It's like some people know this experience where the eyes are somewhere else, and my eyes are down here. And then I was flying home, and the most extraordinary and terrifying experience happened. While I was on a layover in Paris, the BBC reported that an IDF airstrike had leveled a hospital from 500 feet. We know that isn't what actually happened. We all remember that, like, report, right? And I'm standing in this airport, and someone starts following me. Here. Go. Here. So, I'm starting to really wig out. And I'm trying not to, like, draw too much attention to it, because the last thing I want to do is escalate the situation. And thank God my plane boards board the same plane. I sit in my seat. He sits next to me. He buckles in, and he turns to me. He says, General Chief, I love the Jews. There's an Algerian Muslim man who saw the news report and was immediately not concerned about what was happening elsewhere in the world. Was just concerned about my safety. He saw the kippah, he knew what was possible, and he wanted to be there if something went wrong. And so the first thing I did when I got off the plane in New York, well, the second thing I did after going home and giving Megan back, the second thing I did after I got home from New York was I got on my email and I started emailing every Muslim colleague I hadn't spoken to on this behalf. I said just one thing. I said, I don't know how we can talk, but I don't want us to sit in silence. And I had a lot of conversations over the course of many months, and I had to listen to a lot of things I did not want to listen to. I'm not going to pretend it was all flowers and roses. There were a lot of really, really tough, hard, painful conversations, a lot of things people didn't know, a lot of things people didn't understand. There was one in Mom, and this is the Mom I want to talk about, and this is where I'm going to leave you for now. If you want to hear more about this Mom, I am happy to talk more about him at dinner. Mom in English, Egyptian Mom, and in Muhammad. It's a very popular name, and in Muhammad. And Muhammad called me on the phone, or on WhatsApp, and he said, can we do a face call? I said, sure. He came up on the screen, and I could tell immediately from his face that this was going to be a toughie. Like, of all the conversations I had, this was going to be a really hard one. And I didn't know why, and then he started to explain. Muhammad had gotten up in front of his congregation, in front of his mosque, for his Friday sermon, for his khutbah in the mosque, on October 11th, or whatever it was, the Friday after October 7th, and vocally and vociferously condemned Hamas. Just thought it was the right thing to do. It wasn't confusing. He knew that it was the right thing to do, and so he got it and did it. And his community responded negatively. Some in his community responded. And he had a hard time with that. He had a hard time with that because the negative response was not, how dare you condemn Hamas? October 11th, 12th, the bombing of Gaza had already begun. There were already people in the community whose friends, family, loved ones were buried under rubble. And they were saying to him, you see their pain, but you don't see our pain. How is that possible? You're a spiritual leader. So he got on the phone with me and he said, Ben, I have to understand. I have to understand that I'm going to get up in front of my congregation, it's a congregation, a community, and talk about your pain. I have to understand your pain. Can you tell me what the state of Israel means to you? Can you tell me what Zionism means to you? Because remember, he's from Egypt. He was raised in an environment where Zionism was dirty. And we sat and talked for 2.5 hours. And I'm not going to tell me we did everything, but we came away with two sort of key realizations. The first realization was he really had no idea what my was. But the second realization, which was actually really important, was I had no idea what his was. I thought, he's Egyptian, he was in England. Why does he care more about this conflict than what's happening in Myanmar, what's happening in China? Why this conflict? I didn't understand that as an Egyptian. He's got friends and family in Gaza. He's got friends and family in the West Bank. We both thought that for the other, this was a political conversation, and missed that for both of us, it was deeply, deeply personal. And so we made a plan. The plan, which happened last week, actually last week, we brought a group of Jews, Muslims, and Christians to Cairo. I was in Cairo last week, 4 days. It was wild. I just want to share one thing about Cairo, and then we should talk.
Traffic was terrible.
Okay, so 2 things about Cairo. Yes, the traffic was terrible. Who's been to Cairo, by the way? It's amazing. Come on, you guys have to. When were you in Cairo? In March. Where did you go in Cairo? It was now.
No, we took an hour cruise, we started in Cairo, we ended in Cairo.
Did you go to the Ben Ezra synagogue? Okay, so this is what I want to.
Muhammad did not take us to the
I said, Bummer, next time you have to go to the Ben Ezra synagogue. Who knows what the Ben Ezra synagogue is?
Is that where the Greece is?
It's where the Cairo B'nai Torah stuff. Yeah, that's what it's famous for. That's where we all know it from. In Solomon chapter 1, we found all these amazing documents. We got a great view of our history, and wow.
I didn't know that's where it was, but I knew that Cairo was famous.
Yeah, but, and that is what that synagogue is famous for. But it's actually famous for something else among Egyptian Jews, which is a thing I did not know until I walked in the synagogue and our Egyptian guide pointed it out. You ready? This blew my mind. I hope it blows yours because now I'm going to feel very sick. Traditionally, for Egyptian Jews, the Ben Ezra synagogue is on the site where Moshe left Pharaoh's palace in Shemot 9, opened his arms, and said to God, stop the hail. That's their tradition. Their tradition is that that's the place that Moshe and Aaron, they left after this terrible encounter with this horrible man, and came up to God and said, all right, like a little bit less suffering. A little bit less suffering. Doesn't change the fact that we gotta get out of Egypt. Things have to change. A little bit less suffering. And I loved that story. I thought, gosh, now here I am, davening where Moshe Rabbeinu davened. That's a beautiful story. There's one other story. After the Ben Ezra synagogue, we went to the Al-Azhar Mosque. Anybody know what Al-Azhar is? Al-Azhar is one of the oldest universities in the world. It's older than Oxford, older than Cambridge. It is currently one of the most important universities in the entirety of the Muslim world. It's my imam's alma mater. And we walked in there, and we heard a historical story. Not that, I'm sure Moshe actually davened in that place. I want to be clear, absolutely, I davened where Moshe davened. But we heard a story that, say, has more independent verification, which is that Al-Azhar, this incredibly important university, this huge, huge mosque, this space that is the seat today of still the overwhelming majority of Muslim knowledge produced in the Sunni Muslim world. was built by a Shia ruler and his Jewish architect. The two of them got together in the 10th century and said, you know what's going to make the two of us actually build a better world? Shared knowledge. And so we sat there in the courtyard of the Al-Azhar, telling these stories and getting to know each other so much better. And I'm still thinking about it. I'm still working through it. I feel a little teary just like going back in that moment that was just a week ago. But if that's possible, if it's possible to sit with imams from Egypt or Pakistan, seriously, like people came along from Iran. Yes, I was not the only Jew. I was thinking that with imams from these places and with Jews. With me, there was a rabbi. Actually, there were only two Jews. With me and a rabbi. We were supposed to have one more, but some scheduling issues. Representatives from the Vatican, Anglicans. We even had, and this is my favorite, we had an Irish priest, Anglican priest, not Catholic. And he sat there and he turned to us and he said, next year we should do this in Belfast. And I said, next year in Jerusalem. Thanks so much. Next year in Jerusalem, now Baruch.
Yes, Shua. Sure people have a million.
I'm sure they do. I didn't want to
That's what the
go.
snacks outside are for. We'll continue on page 39. Today. Please rise as you ושמחת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Please rise as your eagle page 46. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. ויהיו בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת הנחש, יקרא ויקרא שמי רבה, ויקרא פרטי ומתמח פרטי ויעמדו יומך, וידעו בית ישראל, בזמן קריב. אמן. יהי רבם תורה, ואברהם ירמיה ותפארה. יתברך ויצלח וקרב יתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי קדושם. ואלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה. זרשתה ונחמתה, ואמירה יאמר. Amen. you're still in your personal prayer, please continue. We'll meet on page 50. ויבולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השני ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות ברוך אתה אדוני Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Ha'el HaGadol, Ha'gibor HaTorah, Elyon, Konei Shamayim Ha'aretz, Magrin Avot V'Toro, Mechayim Metim V'Ma'aro, Ha'el HaGadol She'ein Kamohu, HaMashiach Namo, Yom Shabbat Kodsho. Ivan Ratzon Ani Yakaden, Ivan Ratzon Ani Yakaden, Letzanot Navo V'Yirav Pashat, V'Nogei Lishma V'Kol Yom Hamid, Ve'ona Be'Rachot, El Hamonam, Adon Hashanah, V'Kadesh Hashanah, If you would like grape juice, please come grab yourself a tiny cup. Thank you. Three, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'ratzah banu, v'shabbat kodsho v'yahavon ratzon v'chilanu, zikaron na'aseh b'reishit, yom tefillah le'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziyat b'Yisraelim, v'ivanu b'charta, v'yotanu kilasha, mikol ha'amim, v'shama kodesh, v'savot ratzon, v'yotanu. Page 56. Aleinu Corner's Cottage, page 15. Announcements. Well, first of all, Dr. That was brilliant. And if you would like to learn more from him or want to ask more questions than our little holiday allows, Ben is also teaching tomorrow morning in the sermon slot and will be with us at Kiddush. So it's easier to corner him and you knew him first, so you can say, I want to talk to you about last night. And he's also teaching for Sleep Cooked at 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. And then we'll be leading into the Midrash, and you can already tell that he's got excellent pedagogy, so if you wanted to have more of a back and forth, you'll have an opportunity to do that tomorrow night. Sleep Cooked is our service in preparation for the high holidays, and then we'll have a service with some songs at 10:30. Mazel tov to Lisa and Seth Greenberg and Anna Ray Kirsch on the marriage of their daughter and granddaughter, Lori Greenberg to Zach Kirsch. Mazel tov to Aline and Mark Kotowski on the marriage of their daughter Emma Kotowski to Andrew Stern. Welcome to new members Lauren and David Harvey, William Vincent and Sarah Levy, Ronnie and Adam Cass, and Dina Reeves. It's with great sadness that we note the passing of Suzanne Benjamin, mother of Bob, Janet Benjamin, and Peter and Patricia Benjamin, grandmother of Adam and Tali Benjamin, Lisa Benjamin, Matt Goviak, and Jason Benjamin. Please know the following. What I already said about what's happening tomorrow. Also, Sunday, we are having a vocal ensemble from the City Springs Theater Company at 5 p.m. They're doing a medley just for us. There will be 45 minutes of singing, and then a Q&A, and then a delicious Italian-style dinner. Can people still sign up, Natalie? Sure. They can still sign up with Natalie. High holidays are almost here. You must register children for Rosh Hashanah youth programming by Sunday. If you need an etrog and Mulak, you missed the deadline, but maybe you can talk your way into it. If you haven't received your tickets yet, they might still be in the mail. If you haven't gotten them by Tuesday, please call the office for assistance.
Could also be you owe us settling up, so call it.
It might not be lost in the mail.
I mean,
It might be lost in the mail. The check was lost in the mail.
yeah, holding them ransom.
We're doing Tashlich on Sunday, October 6th, with some song and inspiration. There's options in Brookhaven at Murphy Campbell Park and in Sandy Springs at the boat launch on Azalea Drive. All that information, all the information about high holidays is on our website. You can check the website. Any questions? Yeah, it is a physical thing, but I never saw that, so use the website. Okay, there will be several opportunities also to commemorate the events of October 7th and stand together as a community. We will be inviting you to a gathering of remembrance at lunchtime on October 7th at noon. Have a chance to gather together with a light lunch. Our Shemini Atzeret services on Thursday, October 24th, which is the Hebrew anniversary of October 7th, will include a special opportunity for remembrance with our visitor service. And we invite everyone to attend our Simchat Torah celebrations on October 24th at 6:45 and Friday, October 25th at 9 a.m. Show the world we will dance again and our spirits will not be crushed. Also, the Federation is hosting multiple ways to commemorate and remember October 7th. On October 7th, there is a community gathering at 6 p.m. And then on Sunday, October 27th, there is an event that will be about Jewish resilience and focusing on healing and ways to connect with Israel. Services are tomorrow at 9, and then we are having mincha only at 6 p.m. because we have also this. We'll conclude with Shalom Aleichem, and then Hamotzi. You can find the words of Shalom Aleichem on 70. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hashavim, Malachi Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lachem